What is cracking, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you and whoever is watching. It's me and Ted. We're back. It's First and Ted on a rather busy week of news for the 49ers. Usually when we're going into the dead week for playoff talk and they have a bye week, there's not really much going on, but quite a bit of news happened as far as injuries, some coaching news that happened in the NFL that I think a lot of 49er fans are interested in. So we're going to talk about it first. But before we do that, I just want to say what's up to Ted.
Not much, Aaron. Just happy hump day. Nice to have another stress-free week. Obviously last week our only stress was, would anybody get injured during the game?
Yep.
And this week, really no stress other than, I guess it depends on who you want to face. In the divisional round, there might be some stress if we draw the wrong team.
Yeah, there's about four teams that can be drawn. It can be the Packers, the Bucks, the Rams, and the Eagles. Those are the four teams that the Niners could be going up against. But whatever it is, we got to face them. It's not like we have a option to back out and say, no, let's pick somebody else. So it's the remaining lowest seed at the end of Monday night. Monday night or Monday or Sunday night, they'll have, whoever the lowest seed is will be the person or the team that the Niners are facing. But let's talk about the breaking news that dropped a couple hours ago. Seattle Seahawks will no longer be coached by Pete Carroll. He has been fired, mutually parted ways. They haven't really said what it is. I think it's incredible because it's like he's been a mainstay there since 2010, 2011. They had that whole Legion of Boom era where they kicked our butt quite frequently. And now they're back to being without Pete Carroll. And who knows what's coming now that he's gone. So what was your honest opinion of that whole situation? And what are your feelings on the departure of Pete Carroll?
Well, I think he is going to stay on in some capacity, but he won't be the head coach anymore, at least. I don't know exactly how to feel about it. I guess I'm in mixed feelings. There's a part of me that, is glad that he's gone because the Seahawks have that ownage over us. But a part of me says, hey, that was just Russ, because since Russ is gone, we've gone 5-0. Now we call them the sweep talks. I do feel like their bigger problem is their GM than the coach. So I feel like whoever the coach is isn't going to win without the right personnel. And I don't think they have the right personnel. So,
according to all the draft pundits, though, every year they have the best draft. And then they come into the season and, just doesn't happen for them.
Well, when they signed Jarran Reed, he's a defensive tackle for them. He's a boomerang for them, a retread, if you will. And when they signed Jarran, he was like, in 2022, the Seattle Seahawks were 30th against the run. That won't happen again. And they were 28th in 2023. So they were still pretty damn bad against the run. And a lot of that is personnel. I feel like Bobby Wagner is still a good tackler, but he's no good against the pass. Jordan Brooks is not real good against the pass either. They don't really have any good defensive tackles. I guess they have the one guy they got from Denver. Something Jones. Kind of like our DJ Jones that we lost. Lamont Jones, I think, something like that.
And they also bring in that free agent, forget his name, came over from the Jets.
Draymond. Not Draymond, but Draymond Jones is the guy's name.
Not to be confused with Draymond Jones. Draymond, whatever, the guy from the Warriors.
Who also is often confused with Dre Greenlaw.
There's just a lot of confusion with the Dre's.
They both get into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, one's a trouble starter on the basketball court, and the other one likes to hit people out of bounds consistently in big games where we don't need it.
And suplex people.
I would be that. That would be me as a player. That's why I could never play sports, because people would get dumped on their heads on a consistent basis. Because I have I mean, I'm the guy that they would agitate because they know they'd get me, and they would get me every time. They're like, "Oh, Lavigan's thrown out again. He got he got tossed." I look at this as an era mostly ruled by the Seahawks during, I would say, from 2011 till probably 2017. And then even though a lot of their best defenders were gone from the Legion of Boom, we were so bad that we were still losing to them up until probably 2018. And then, we started becoming just an overall better team than the Seahawks. And you could tell it just ate them alive because they would find ways to kick our butt all the time or come back and beat us. And it was kind of an ongoing piece of, just irritation from them that they always found a way to beat us. And then Russ left. And when Russ left, the 49ers became the owners of the NFC West. Russ can't really do much without him. And I feel like the other way is like they were both like a perfect match for each other, coach and quarterback. And as you could see with Russ without him, hasn't had much success in Denver. And Seattle, since they let him go, hasn't much success as far as quarterback goes. They might have had some decent players around him, but yeah, it's an end of an era with Seattle. I know a lot of people are happy to see him go. I am one of them. I cannot stand watching him on the sideline chewing his gum. It is the most. I can't find anything more aggravating watching a Seahawks game is in watching that prick on the sideline chewing his gum. So, arrivederci. Nice knowing you. Go into the chat a little bit here. Oh, by the way, we were supposed to be hosted by Ted, but I accidentally made the stream. So if you were waiting for it on his channel today and you don't see his intro, that was the reason. We have, of course, my better half, Jupiter, in here. She says, "Let's go effing Niners." Marcus W says, "What's up?" We got David McNiner, part of the Niners Coast to Coast crew on Monday. Thank you for coming through, my man. Appreciate it. And SG Sports Talk channel says, "Hi, Ted." So you're just going to straight up ignore me. That's okay. I'm just playing.
Come on, Shardall. You know Aaron.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's who
Shardall Gupta. Yeah.
So we go into a week where this is the Niners essentially, I think they have 2 practices coming this week, but this is still kind of their off week before the real work begins for whoever they face in the playoffs. A lot of injury news. I'm trying to look at some of it here. I'll bring it up and then I'll let you kind of talk about it. So let's see. I think I got a banner here with some of the injury news. And this was kind of the news that came out yesterday that I thought was pretty interesting. Oh, that's not it. Okay, so it says outside of Clelin Ferrell, like there's 2 main injuries that I think a lot of people are interested in. It's not even on this particular screen capture. Armstead, Jair Brown, Thomas, Ambry Thomas, Odom, Tyshawn Gibson, Dre Greenlaw should all be back in practice on the field this week. 2 people that are not mentioned on here, Eric Armstead will probably be on the field next week, as that's what the talk is. And also, I'm trying to think of who else is going to be on the field.
CMC
will be on the field. There's another player that's been hurt that will be on his way back. I cannot think of their name right now, but the Niners are getting a lot of people back at the right time. Clelin Ferrell, they said, could be back sometime again in the playoffs. So the longer the Niners are around, I would assume maybe the Super Bowl he would be back for. He didn't have season-ending quite surgery, but at this time of year, with it being the playoffs, season-ending really could mean 1 game or 3. So any thought of getting a lot of people back? And I'm going to ask you this, how important is the return of Eric Armstead with this defense that we've had that, they haven't played their best ball down the stretch. They've still been pretty good. But the loss of Armstead, especially in the running game, has been something of something of concern. What's your overall thought about that?
Yeah, Armstead is very underrated. I've always been a pretty big backer of him, defender of his. I mean, he may not be worth exactly what we're paying him, but he's worth a lot. He's a captain of the team. He's a leader. And like you said, against the run, he's really important because we kind of have, like our second and third string tight ends, our first and second string defensive tackles are, Armstead's a little bit limited as a pass rusher and Hargrave's a little bit limited as a run stopper. So it's good to have them both. What's up, Shell? Yeah, it's a good reminder. If you're watching on TED Talks Ball, make sure you get over to Aaron, give him a like and subscribe. Same thing if you're on Aaron's channel, do for me. And if you're on a browser, open up 2 tabs. We need all the watch hours we can get. So thanks in advance for doing that.
Definitely. Go ahead.
But yeah, Armstead's huge. I mean, when we were playing our best ball this season, he was there. And when we were playing our best ball last season, he was there. He missed half of last season. So it was very stark, the contrast between for the first 7 or 8 games and the last 8 or 9 games of 2022.
It's definitely a big concern of mine, the defense, how they played down the stretch. They just haven't quite been who we're used to seeing. And I can't really, there's just way too much talent even without Armstead to really make any other excuses other than they just haven't played well, or they haven't played up to their capability.
Jair Brown too isn't Hufanga.
Yeah, Jair Brown definitely isn't Hufanga. I totally forgot. I know this is really bad, and this is like, people can, crucify me for it, but I totally forgot about Tyshawn Gibson. I'm like, who's the Niners' other safety? Oh, we got, because I'm thinking about Jair and I'm thinking about Hufanga. And then I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, he's so valuable to that secondary having him back
I don't
there.
think he had a TD scored on him all season.
Yeah, he's been invaluable. He was a guy that we picked up essentially right before the season last year as like a last minute signing and ended up being one of the most crucial players that we had on our team last year. And he's pretty much been the same this year. With the Hufanga going down and then Jair Brown, we needed some stability back there, and he gave it. And now I didn't even think about that. Like him being back, hopefully, I don't know about you. How do you feel? Would you be more comfortable in the playoffs with Logan Ryan or Jair Brown?
Can we get
Hufanga?
Taylor Ball Hawkins?
He's injured. He injured his hand.
I know he got injured too. But he came in and made an interception quickly and had some nice hits against the Rams. Maybe. Yeah, I feel like Jair Brown, there's a lot to like. I was just surprised how well he filled in at first, and then not as surprised when he started to look more like a rookie the last few games. So, I don't know what the answer is. Logan Ryan, we mentioned George Odom coming back. He was sort of next on the depth chart after Jair Brown. I don't know, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to experiment with some of those things. Playoffs are not the time for missed tackles and bad angles, some things we saw him do quite a bit of. Also blown coverages.
Yeah. And it's definitely not the time. You need your best players on the field at all times. And if that means bringing in and playing a guy like Logan Ryan, who just has more experience, and I know you look at him and you're like, really, you're going to go with a guy that's that old in the secondary? Yeah, I want like, this is put up or shut up time, man. You can't have mistakes. And mistakes are great when you're in the middle of the season or the first half of the season and you have a good team that covers them up by scoring a bunch of points, man. You one missed tackle or one bad angle in a playoff game could be all the difference. So,
especially when you can't count on your kicker.
Yeah, that's not even a subject I have up on the topics. But let's touch on.
I missed it yesterday with Ryan and on Monday with Pedro. I totally forgot. Or maybe not on Monday, but
let's talk about it.
Ryan.
How I'm not confident with him going into the playoffs. Are you?
No, no, because I think I'm going to give myself some flowers here as far as my analysis on him all year long, which was he was perfect until the Browns game, and he missed two, including the game winner. He missed another one against the Vikings. But you remember what I was saying that whole time was like, yeah, he's making them all, but they sure do look ugly, Aaron. A lot of them are just squeaking in. And I said the same thing when he was perfect from the Vikings up till this last week against the Rams, that he was squeaking a lot of them in. They didn't look good. I said there's no pictures on a box score, but it doesn't make me feel good.
No.
And I stuck with that. And I added the extra caveat during the second I call it perfect stretch. And this is why I call it a perfect stretch, because I felt like there were quite a few 55 and 60 plus yarders where we didn't even attempt a field goal. We just let Wish punt it to sort of protect Moody. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea by call. I think probably was the right thing to do. We want to build his confidence. In fact, to that end, I was really hoping that we would drive the field and let Moody kick the game winner. I thought that would do a lot for his confidence if he made the game winner after missing two, but no, our buddy Sam Darnold
Remember,
missed
he
it.
was Sam Darnold. What a
You know how high I hold that clown in my esteem. It's funny because some people were kind of stroking him on the timeline, and they said, "Oh, look at this! I think this was a no-look pass by Sam Darnold." Early in the game, and I was like, "Yeah, it was a no-look fumble on the drive where we could have maybe got Moody a game-winning field goal to fix his confidence."
For all you people that say he could run the offense exactly the way Purdy runs it, you are really.
Well, what's funny is I don't know if you saw, but Grant wrote a little article about Sam Darnold, and he compared Sam Darnold's completion percentage and maybe passer rating. I forget exactly what the two stats. I know one was completion percentage. And probably passer rating too. They're kind of similar. Passer rating is largely based off of completion percentage. But anyway, he compared it from Darnold previous to Darnold 2023. And what do you know? Darnold was a smidge worse in both in 2023. So this whole system quarterback stuff they say about Brock, I think that kind of disproves it when somebody coming from much worse systems at the Jets and the Panthers, actually his stats dropped a little with our all-star weapons, our weapons that are so good that they're all going to the Hall of Fame as Kittle, Ayuk, CMC, Debo, and Purdy as this unit that's first time that they've ever. I don't know if Purdy was included in it. Maybe it was just the weapons. Let me look it up. Kittle quote tweeted it recently. But anyway, I've been going on a long time, so jump on in. Help me.
I mean, with all the injuries and the rest from that game, I wasn't really worried about the final score, but that is such a bad feeling to have going into the playoffs with your kicker and his body language, bro. I want to slap him. He's so. Oh man, I'm man. When I've been. It was a meaningless game. We had everything sewn up, so I was like, I wanted us to win, but I didn't really care. But his facial expressions after he misses a kick, that little squishy face inside the helmet, bro, bro. I, I, if I was his teammate, dude, I would jack him up. I would put him up against the locker and be like, I would just berate him, like, what the is wrong with you, bro? Like, you can't be missing kicks like this. And then you're like, oh shucks, did I miss that look on your face? Is just, oh man. He gets me hot in the wrong way, not in the and then the other way. That dude is his whole demeanor to me is not a guy that I want to go to when the pressure's on to kick a game-winning field goal in the playoffs to send a team to the Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl. I don't have any confidence in him at all. And Kyle's like, well, we do. I'm like, but do you?
The only good news is Kyle goes for it more on fourth down now. I like that.
Yeah.
Remember I talked about it. And when we drafted him, I'm like, the one side effect could be good is if we got this long-legged kicker who could potentially make some long ones, but on those medium to long ones, Kyle wasn't so sure about. You'd go for it more on fourth down. We definitely went for it a lot more on fourth down this year. So I'll take some flowers on that one too.
Hello, Jess from East Coast Red and Gold Podcast. Thank you for
Oh,
coming
Jess is
through.
here. I might have to update my Brock Purdy ranking just for her.
We
I
weren't
wasn't
talking about
going to because we
quarterbacks.
didn't play, but some other people did. Kurt Bankert moved him up this week without playing. So why can't I?
In my book, his ranking right now is number 2.
I was going to say 2 to 5. I had him at 3 to 6 last week.
He's right behind. He's right behind
Lamar
Jackson. And the only reason I say that is because head to head, Lamar played better and he played bad. But I'm talking like season.
Man. Stafford's playing well.
And
Jordan Love's playing well. Josh Allen is playing well. I went through and pulled some Josh Allen receipts this week of all those people saying that he was washed.
You think he's elite? I think he's got elite traits, but in order for him to become PFF. More, he has to stop with the turnovers, bro. He has
not that to. PFF is the Bible. You know how I hold those guys in esteem, not that highly, but they did have Josh Allen as the highest ranked quarterback this season. Dak number 2, Lamar number 3, and our boy Purdy number 4. So yeah, I'm cool with Purdy in the 2 through 5 range. There was another ranking where that's right.
I'm okay with that. Come on, Jess. No, I'm just playing.
2 through 5. And there was another thing where he came up where he was 4th there, like you said. I'll find some others, but yeah, I've seen. I mean, Kurt Bankert had him at 2. So a lot of times Kurt is at the northern edge of my range, or one times he was even one higher than my range, like where he had him at 2 and I had him at 3 to 6 or something like that. But I'm cool with 3 to 5 or 2 to 5, I should say. I'll update my rankings after the show today and see what happens. See if anybody even cares. I don't think anybody cares anymore, but I still do it just to.
I haven't. No offense, and I got mad love for you, but I haven't for a while. When you put them up, I'm just like.
No, I know. I can tell because they're getting less and less likes, and
I think everybody's just like. I think what's happening too. To be honest with you,
yeah,
people are like, it's playoff time, like all that stuff. And I don't think anybody wants to engage on it because they don't want to look foolish.
I remember there was another one. Yeah, there was another one that just came out where they ranked the playoff quarterbacks, and they had Purdy 11th of the playoff quarterbacks. And it was a fairly big publication. Here we go. Actually, I don't know who it is. Ranking. It's hard to see who did it, but it looks pretty professional. And it says ranking QBs based on how much we'd want them in the playoffs. They had Mahomes number 1, Allen number 2, Lamar number 3, Stafford 4, Dak 5, CJ Stroud 6. CJ Stroud's another one that's getting up there. He played really well in that last game of the season. He had 2 really nice back foot throws.
He's a really good young player. Listen, CJ Stroud is what everybody wanted Trey Lance to be.
Yeah. And he there was somebody, a Niner fan, asked, like, who would you rather have, CJ Stroud or Brock Purdy? And a lot of Niner fans said Stroud. I mean, the people that responded, way more people said Stroud than Purdy. I thought that was interesting. I stayed clear of it just because it's still too early to tell on both these guys.
You know what the problem is with us?
I will say that Stroud doesn't have nearly the same weapons that we have. I will say that.
You know what the problem is? We live in the instant reaction era.
Yeah.
Or every time something is new, we forget about the body of work or the other stuff that's happened because of what we just saw. And I think a lot of times when it comes to reactions on how guys play or who's good or who's great, it needs time to marinate for some people. And I think the problem we live in is we live in the social media world where we'll see a highlight or two and they'll be like, oh, he's the greatest thing ever. And then in those same people that make those proclamations on sports talk television will be the same people that say, is he officially a bust? Like there's so the hot and cold and just the overreaction is so prevalent in sports media And, it kind of spills over to people that do content creating where you can literally go through their videos and hear them talking. Like I know somebody, I'm not going to say his name, but like he made a comment essentially that, Purdy was this and that, and he was pooping all over him. And then right before the season, he said, well, Purdy's the guy and we got to learn to accept it. And I'm just like, well, that was a sudden turn, it's almost like he got peer pressured into believing it or something. But I think
I,
Stroud's going to be great. But
I think so too.
he's got to do it over time, just like everybody else.
No doubt. Real quick, I want to say hi to Eric Wallace. He's in the chat. He's a Seahawks man. I'd love to see your reaction, Eric, to the.
Yeah.
I know one content creator I work with. I won't say who because it's through DMs, but wanted it to happen and was glad that they quote unquote listened to their opinion. But I'd love to hear what you have to say, Eric, about if you're happy that Pete Carroll's gone, or if you think, do you think John Schneider's the problem? Do you think Pete really had the horses to really compete and he was that bad of a coach? Or that he clearly he's a little bit old to be a head coach, but doesn't mean you can't be good. Anyway, I'd be curious to get.
There's no doubt that he was a great coach, but I just think,
But is he a great coach? That's the question.
Right.
Maybe he was for sure. Well, I don't know. Also, he had a LOB defense, historic LOB defense, prime beast mode, Russ. When Russ was good, so like. That's a pretty solid squad.
The fact that they only won one Super Bowl with that defense, is a travesty.
It's a little bit sus.
They would have won. They would have won too if they didn't throw the ball and they ran it with.
If they just ran beast mode, exactly. So that's coaching. Anyway, let me finish out that list. So that playoff list, number 7 was Goff, number 8 was Hurts. How is Jalen Hurts number 8? How is he that high? I think he should be lower. I mean, he seems like he's fallen apart. Jordan Love is 9. I think he should be a lot lower or higher, like in the better end of the list. Tua Tagovailoa, 10. I don't know. I think he should be a little bit better than that too. And then obviously Purdy at 11. I think that's ridiculously low, high, whatever. Purdy, I said 2 to 5. And that's in the whole NFL. You're going to tell me he's 11 in the playoffs?
No. I think
he's
top 5 in the playoffs. I think he's top 5 in the playoffs because you're right. He is going against some stalwarts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to put him ahead of Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Stafford. I can't put him ahead of any of them.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. Agreed.
For the playoffs.
Yeah. Maybe for the season, it's a different. I agree.
If you're going to put him, like we said, it's a tough decision. I think Jordan Love's in that conversation too. I think Dak for the playoffs should be lower than 5. I don't think Dak hasn't proven much in the playoffs to me, but that's just me. Anyway, so I just thought that was an interesting list to talk about.
Eric Wallace says, I'm quite stunned, actually. He's talking about the
Pete Carroll.
The separation with Pete Carroll with the Seahawks. But the last few years versus the Lambs and the BBNG 4-10, that's a huge problem.
Yeah. Well, get used to it. So Kurt Bankert's list was Lamar number 1, Purdy 2, Dak 3, Stroud 4, Jordan Love 5. So like no Mahomes, no Josh Allen, no Stafford. That wasn't like a playoff ranking. That's just his power ranking, and his do seem to be very based on week to week. However, he did move up Brock not playing. I think that can happen if people all lay an egg. And the reason why I'd held off on updating Purdy's ranking was because also, week 18, it's such a weird week. So many teams and guys aren't playing. It's hard to make sense of a lot of the results from week 18 and try and apply them to the the season long totals or the season long rankings.
Randy, I don't agree that he's a bum, but I agree that he's way overhyped. Way overhyped. He's been shown that he's susceptible to teams that can play him good defense on him. Like he can be had. He ain't Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of people want to compare him to that, but he's got really good weapons, and he's still not even anywhere close to Lamar Jackson. Like I said, the Niners found a way to mush rush him. That's the famous saying now, that kind of like you rush him, but you don't rush him. And essentially what you're doing is you're containing him in the pocket and kind of forcing him to be a pocket passer. And as we all know, he's not, if you have him stand back there, he's not quite as efficient as, say, like Lamar. You put Lamar in the pocket and you have him stand there, Lamar's going to eat you up that way too. You know, he's turned into that type of player. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think he's a bum, but I just think he was way overhyped. Like I said, we live in this era of like instant gratification. We're always so quick to say this guy is elite and this guy isn't elite and this guy is a bum. Like Jordan Love, everybody said that he was horrible and that they got to get rid of him, yada, yada, yada. And he had a pretty decent season this year. Sometimes players take a long time. Look at Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman was pretty bad early in his career, but they also had, issues with the roster. And then, he never was to me, I think he was the most overrated. Shouldn't have been the Hall of Fame quarterback, but because he won 3, they automatically put him in there. But he had a slow start to his career. So, like I said, we live in the instant gratification world where everything is just like everything has to be all in or all out, all black, all white. And I just, so yeah. And Randy says, yes, Lamar really, yeah, he's dangerous. That's a scary team.
You got a good OC finally. They got rid of Greg Roman. That's the guy who held us back when we had Cap. I also said I always thought the Hurts contract was crazy. Was I right? Do you guys agree? I mean, if he plays like this, for sure. The one thing about the Hurts contract, though, is that it doesn't hurt until like 2026 or 2027. Something crazy like that.
Did you hear that, guys? He says it doesn't hurt. Oh, that'll play on the name.
Well, because they really backloaded the contract, so there's some dead years after he's done with the contract where they'll be paying him a lot of money into thin air. But for now, for the next few years, if he can turn it around, then he's going to have a good squad around him. They'll have enough money to put a good squad around him. Whether they actually, make that happen, that's always remains to be seen. But it's a pretty non-punitive contract for the next 2024 and 2025, I think. So they got 2 more seasons of living free and easy, and then unless they restructure it, and then 26 and 27 is where it does start to hurt.
Wah, wah.
Did you see the Adam Shine thing where he was saying Philly's a bunch of frauds? I'm pretty sure he's an Eagles fan too. He was on Mad Dog Sports, and he was saying Eagles are a bunch of frauds. So, I mean, I think him or somebody was saying basically like, maybe Hurts was relying too much on the senior leaders on the team, like your Jason Kelsey, like Lane Johnson, like Fletcher Cox. They have some pretty senior stalwarts on that team. And he was saying basically like as those guys leave, it's really going to show if Jalen Hurts can't step up as a leader.
And their defense they're old. Fletcher Cox is old. I mean, Graham, old. I don't even know if Graham's on the team anymore.
He might not be Brandon Graham. He may not be, but the other guy is if he isn't. One of the ends is still there. The older defensive end.
Reddick?
No, Reddick's younger. Or not younger, but I mean, he's not young, but he's not like ancient like the other two were. Barnett, I think, is the other one.
Maybe.
Might still be on the team. And while we're talking about the Eagles, I think that's a good segue
to what teams we might face in the playoffs.
That's the team I want to face in the playoffs. I want the Eagles. I want the Eagles. Remember last week I was telling you, man, I'm most worried about the Rams and the Packers.
Okay. And
the Cowboys and Lions they're good, but everybody knows how good they are because of their records. And a little bit less worried about the Lions now that Laporta's out. I think that's going to be the difference. I think that's what puts the Rams over the top against the Lions is that they don't have Sam Laporta, who is one of their big 3 with Amon-Ra St. Brown and this Jahmyr Gibbs rookie kid who's amazing, Alabama.
So really, what you're saying is you want the Eagles.
I want the Eagles. I think the Eagles are on the ropes. I think they're just ready for one more uppercut, and they're going to be slobber flying everywhere in a 10 count.
Yeah, they just had a standing 8 count.
Yeah.
And they're one knockout away from.
I would love to be the ones to knock them out of the playoffs.
After everything that happened last year.
out.
That would be the most poetic justice type
Yeah.
thing that could happen.
I
We
just
already
don't think the Bucks are going to let us do it, though. That's the problem. I think, well, it comes down to here for that game, for me, it all comes down to Baker's rib. If Baker can gut it out and play through that, I think the Bucks beat the Eagles. If his rib's really bugging him, Eagles might take
So
it.
we go the playoffs is based on the lowest seed remaining after all the games are played.
Yeah,
So
so if Green Bay wins, we play Green Bay. That's just the fait accompli. We don't even have to watch any other football to know that that's our opponent because they're a 7 seed.
I still think we beat Green Bay.
Here's the thing. People hear me say
I don't want to sleep
I'm most worried about the Rams and Green Bay, and they think I'm a lot worried about the Rams and Green Bay. And that's the difference. It's like I'm most worried. In other words, I feel like playing those teams, we have the least room for error. I think we have the least room for a missed Moody field goal, for an injury, for a muffed punt, fluky fumble, interception, whatever you want to call it. We just have less room for error. But I am not highly worried about any team in the NFC. Not at all. I'm worried. I'm most worried about the Ravens, followed pretty closely by the Browns.
The Browns are a team that worries me too. That if we played them in the Super Bowl, like that actually could happen. A Niners-Browns Super Bowl, or a
Can you
Niners.
imagine losing to freaking Flacco again in the Super Bowl? I don't think
that would be bad. 49er fans would revolt.
especially after Harbaugh just won his championship, and then like Kyle has his chance to win his championship and falls short to Flacco, just like Harbaugh. I mean, God, there's so many narratives.
Here's the thing, man. All that won't happen is that the Niners defense returns to what they've been in the past. I'm not as confident in our defense as I've been in the past when we go up against good teams with good offenses. I don't know what it is, man. Like injuries, you could blame injuries, you could blame this, you could blame that. I don't know. They just, for some reason, like the tackling's been really bad this season. They can't play the run really well. Like there's a lot of stuff. Like you watch games and you're like, what is the problem? Like we have the same, if not better, players. I mean, we got, what's his name that we got from the Commanders and Chase Young, and we haven't really gotten much pressure in the quarterback the last couple of weeks. Like, what's the problem? Is it just they were tired? Because if that's the case, they better come out and pitch a shutout against whoever they face. Like
Chase Young just isn't that good. That's really all it is. He's not the guy, who I'm blanking on whoever drafted him. The Commanders drafted at number 2 overall. And even then, even without the ACL, I don't think he would have lived up to that number 2 billing. He wasn't living up to it.
He doesn't have a lot of moves.
He doesn't. He's good. He's not a great at the end. And you remember earlier this season, I was saying I thought that he helped, but I thought that maybe getting Isaiah Oliver out of there might be helping more than him, and getting our corners up playing press man might be more important than Chase Young, and then Wilkes coming down from the booth. They're all 4 of those are big factors, but I think a lot of people at first thought Chase Young was going to be the big one, and I was never really, you just got to know that we went after Montez Sweat first. And
that's all,
and we probably went after Brian Burns before that, so
good point. That's a good point, Ted. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I think he was the last option.
He's good of the supposed blue chip.
He's good, but Bosa's head and shoulders better. And Bosa isn't even this year.
Second team All-Pro slipping.
I don't know. Bosa, for some reason this year, I don't know if you noticed it too. It's like the fire wasn't there as much when he was about to get paid the year before. He just, I don't know, man. I hate to pick at this team as they go into a playoff game.
So you say under eager. I say over eager because he's got all these goddamn false starts. How many freaking false starts has Bosa had this season?
And both of them
whatever I call it,
can't bring down a quarterback to save their life if they're quick.
Yeah.
I mean, can we teach quarterbacks, get the broomstick and have them rush the broomstick instead of always going past the quarterback? Like, for once in your freaking life, that's why you need to have a good defensive tackle that can push that pocket, right? So he
Right.
has nowhere to go. Because if
Right.
you have ends that crash and you don't have any push in the front, all they have to do is go
Yeah.
out the back. And it happens every time with the Niners, like constantly. Every time they play a quarterback that can move, it's always the same thing. It's a
It was
super,
twice
super.
against Lamar. Once was Chase Young, and I accused Chase Young of it, and somebody corrected me on the timeline that was Clelin Ferrell. Both ran past him, and he busted out. One for a run, one for the pass to Aguilar, the TD catch.
What do you think about the missing or the injury to him? Do you think that's like significant? Having Clelin Ferrell out of the lineup, I think he's played pretty well this year
Yeah,
as
no,
a
I
starter.
think he is one of our best depth pieces. Him and I mean, I hate to say Kinlaw, but I think Kinlaw's been pretty good too.
I think Kinlaw's been atrocious. Depends on who you talk to, Ted. Some people say he's played well this year, and other people are like, no, he's played like trash.
Well, when he had to fill in when he was our best defensive tackle, that's not a good thing. But when he's a depth piece behind Hargrave and Armstead, I think he's pretty
Okay.
good.
Okay. Yes. Some guys are meant to be rotational players. And Jupiter, I get very triggered with our kicker and with certain players on the defense, but especially the kicker. His body language, I want to slap the taste out of his mouth. Like that whole shucks, I'm all squished in my helmet from Moody just drives me up the wall. Mr. Joe.
Bash in the house.
Oh yeah. My Iraqi brother from another mother.
I mean, we pretty much did move on from Kinlaw, for being honest. We didn't pick up his 5th-year option, which was basically like, hey, good luck. Don't let the door hit you next year.
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Rick Diaz says, good afternoon, good evening. I wish we played football this weekend, but I got to wait till next Sunday or Saturday. Depends.
Yeah.
I'm so diehard 49er fans. I am too, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Because
that'd be another thing that would be great. Would be Eagles play Monday night, and then I guess there was no way they'd make them play Saturday against us. They would definitely make it a Sunday game if it was the Eagles. But it would be awesome if they only got 5 days rest.
That would be great. I'm just the Niners. Listen, the Niners are the team everybody's gearing up to play. They're the #1 seed, so the Niners have a lot of pressure on them. They really do.
Tons.
They have a ton of pressure on them. They're not underdogs. They're not coming out of nowhere. It's not 2019 where they kind of splashed onto the scene and became this like team of destiny who fell short against the Chiefs. The Niners have been the best team all year, and now they're going to get everybody's best. So,
and if that wasn't enough pressure, somebody on TikTok picked us to win the Super Bowl based on, there's like these stats of predictors. I hope I saved it because I'm going to start scrolling looking for it. Probably not. Shoot. Maybe I'll check my likes. I'm sure I liked it. But basically, here it is. Yeah. Prediction backed by stats. Do you want me to do it now? Or
go ahead.
Sorry. I don't want to play his audio though. Let me see how I can kill the audio here. And anyway, he said he predicted last year. He predicted the Super Bowl winner correctly using a formula. And so one was a plus 50 point differential, number one. And when you have a plus 50 point differential, 55 out of 57 of those teams were correct. And so that eliminates Bucks, Green Bay, Eagles, Steelers, and Texans. Top 20 in points allowed, says his defense. Since 1970, only 2 champions missed the mark. All right. So again, very accurate. That eliminates the Dolphins and the Lions, who we know don't have great defenses. Number 3, not bottom 10 in turnover percentage, 33 out of 35 success rate. So again, pretty accurate. This eliminates the Bills and the Chiefs. Both have a lot of turnovers. As you said, Josh Allen has too many interceptions for you. He also had a lot of fumbles too. Number 4, top 20 in total passing yards, 15 out of 15 in the last 15 years. Pretty accurate in this modern pass-happy NFL. Eliminates the Ravens. So that's kind of big. Then 49ers and Cowboys meet all requirements. And then they're showing a bunch of Niners highlights of the Cowboys game of us just rolling up. And this is my teams I had in the NFC Championship, Niners and Cowboys, from before the season. 49ers and Cowboys both have a shot, but the 2024 champion will be the San Francisco 49ers. So I'll do something with this and just be like, I'll say bet your rent money. But just so it's on the timeline, so it's not like people don't have to be like searching through my likes or whatever.
Even expensive suits fold. That's a good one, Randy. Mr. Joe says Brock Purdy has a lot of pressure. I hope he doesn't fold like a cheap suit. He played well in last year's playoffs.
Yeah, he did. I don't think.
That game against Dallas, their defensive line was really good last year.
Yeah,
he was under a lot of duress.
Yeah, and then against the Seahawks, he struggled in the first half and lit him up in the second. Partially, I think, due to wet ball in the first half. So let's hope there's dry weather for both games. I should check. Well, I can't forecast for a week from Sunday.
Yeah, my brother kind of has felt that one, Rick, that they're not going to go very far. They just are too injured.
Well, especially, let's see if I can find that. There was something about that today, too. Well, first of all, I mentioned earlier that the HOF for our team, I guess it's technically not Purdy because it's, he's the one who threw them all, but it was, we got the game ball from the Hall of Fame because the first team in NFL history to have 2 wide receivers and a tight end with 1,000 scrimmage yards in the same season. So it had nothing to do with Purdy directly. So it was Debo, and also McCaffrey's in there too, a running back too. So it was McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle as best weapons in the NFL, like we've been saying. Let me see if I can find the one about Tua. Guess what I can remember at least what the stat was. Guess what the coldest game? It's supposed to be 0 degrees in Kansas City, with 10 to 20 mile an hour wind chill, which would be, I don't know, -5, -10 degrees Fahrenheit, something like
pretty
that.
Cold.
Wind chill. Pretty freaking cold. One of the coldest games potentially, in playoff history. Guess what the coldest game Tua ever played in was?
Probably like 35 degrees or something.
20. He actually played some in high school. I guess he was in the Pacific Northwest or Seattle area. He played a 20-degree game, which is, I do feel sort of like once you get, below 20 degrees, I don't think it's that much difference as far as, it's just cold. Sometimes I feel like the coldest you can play in is like 40 degrees and wet, where it just seeps.
To me, it's more the defense that has the issue in the cold with hitting.
Yeah.
You really want to hit when it's cold out? Because I wouldn't.
And they don't have like really good linebackers. They do have good safety, and they have great corners. If Xavier Howard's back, I know Xavier Howard missed week 18 though. We got Ramsey, who's obviously a hell of a corner, but they don't have a lot of pass rush either to put on Mahomes. Although I don't think you have to have really great ends to push for Mahomes. With their tackles are not great. The KC Chiefs, their strength of their line is guard, center, guard for the Chiefs. Josh Allen is my new Brett Favre. No, he's better than Favre. At least not as many interceptions. Favre had almost as many interceptions as TDs. But
Favre's got a chip. Favre's got a chip, though, man.
Favre does, but Josh is young. He'll get his. Well, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough when you get paid. Then you only got one weapon with Stephon Diggs. So it's the same problem that Mahomes is looking at this year. Well, I don't see a Niners Chiefs. I think I predicted Niners Chiefs Super Bowl before the season started, and I'm backing off that. I'm saying Niners Ravens or Niners Browns are my two most likely.
I'm going Niners Bills.
Just because you hate the Bills fans and you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were so happy.
You want more people to say that Purdy's better than Josh Allen because he beat him in the Super Bowl.
If Purdy played well against the Bills and the Niners won against Josh Allen, I would flex so hard because Bills fans around here are so incredulous. They're so annoying. Like they won the AFC East on the last game of the season, and they're acting like they clinched home field advantage. And, I'm going to wear my Josh Allen's. Like, dude, go freaking win a playoff game. Okay? Yeah. Get to the conference championship and make a Super Bowl. You haven't been there since 1993. Okay,
When they
that's
lost 4 straight.
you lost 4 straight. So enough. When the
Ugh.
Niners got eliminated last year, somebody on my timeline goes, "I'm so happy the Niners are out of the. They're so annoying." I'm like, why?
Uh,
Because they have like a way not less well-known quarterback, and they're still their team is still better, and you have this guy that can do everything, and you still fall short. Like,
uh,
I'm not
it's
saying
tough,
he's a bad quarterback. I think he's an awesome quarterback. I just think
tough once you get paid. Yeah, it
he
is.
needs for him to become elite, like really elite. I'm talking like elite. He's got the turnovers have to stop. There's only one quarterback in the NFL that I think is
Unless
elite,
unless
and
they're
that's
arm
Patrick
punt.
Mahomes.
If you get a deep 50-yard, 50-50 ball on 3rd and long, I have no problem with that being an interception, because the other option is it, turns into a huge play. Real quick, Randy Daytona said, frauds exposed, elite, casual, this season's keywords. Did I miss any? And this kind of brings up this whole topic that we were talking about, maybe people saying that Purdy's better than Josh Allen if he beats him in the Super Bowl. QB wins, because that's one of my big keywords, and one that I like to say. They mean something, but they don't mean everything. They don't mean nothing. There's some value to them, but they can be misleading. I still use Stafford, I think, is the best example, or one of the best examples. 12 years with the Lions, 0-3 in the playoffs. First year with the Rams super team, goes 4-0 in the playoffs, wins the Super Bowl. Next year, have some defections. O-line falls apart, 5-12. And then all of a sudden this year, you get some infusion of youth with Kyron Williams, who they picked 2 years ago, but or in 2 drafts ago, and but he just really started playing a lot this year. And obviously Puka Nacua. All of a sudden, people are talking about Stafford again, and what a great play! It's just funny to see the same guy, and you looked at very, very differently depending on the results of a game where he's got 52 other people on that roster with him. Quarterbacks are super important, the most important, but they're not everything. And it matters who you're throwing to. It matters who's blocking for you. It matters who's on your defense. And I think that's what's going to stop Stafford. He's got Aaron Donald, and they got Ernest Jones in the middle. They got John Johnson on the back end. But I don't think outside of those 3, one at each level on their defense, I don't
I
think
just
that's
don't think
enough.
their defense is good enough to compete with the Niners for 4 quarters.
No.
The Niners defense, it might be a
Better,
shootout, but I just think the Niners can score as many points as they can, if not more.
better than the Lions, better than the Dolphins, but probably not better than any other team in the playoffs defensively. Yeah.
Let's talk about something that was bandied about a little bit the other day, and talk about Adam Peters. He's been requested to interview with at least 3 teams.
Commanders.
Ted, I don't think the Niners can afford to let him go. I think I got into a little bit of a disagreement with my guy, Luke Luna. He used to be big on YouTube in my comment section, but he's kind of a Facebook guy now. But Luke's a really good guy. He disagrees. He thinks that I wasn't given enough credit to John Lynch, because I say John Lynch is more of a figurehead, and I think Adam Peters is more of the guy that actually built this roster. You seem to agree. They got to keep him, right?
Absolutely. Got to find a way. John Lynch has already been promoted to president, so that's already happened. But what you got to do is make Peters the GM, and not just say you're the GM and keep the power with Lynch. And the problem is that some of these other places are going to be like, hey, Adam, you can be the real GM. And as long as you're in San Francisco, that Kyle always has final authority over any personnel decision that he chooses to get involved with. And that's tough. I mean, you got the good side is that we're a winning organization. We got a lot of good players, great players, the best roster in the NFL. But that's the bad side. That's the side that's the devil on his shoulder going, you could be the main honcho. You could pick your coach. You could, have full authority over every personnel decision, not just the, 5th, 6th, and 7th rounders, right? So,
to me, it comes down to his family and being a California kid.
yeah.
And if the Niners offer him enough money and enough power, he stays. the Niners
Mhm.
think that they're just going to take someone from within and everything's going to be fine. I mean, Mayhew was let go. He's
Rand
already out.
Carthon left last year. That was a big
Yeah.
one to Tennessee.
I ran Carthon and Mayhew were really great, but I think
Yep.
Carthon and Peters were the two top guys.
Yep.
So if you're going to let all those guys go and you promote your GM to president, what is the holdup? Promote them. Maybe they're giving them the chance to test it to see what kind of offers are out there so they can come back with one that's way better. But this team, you can say everything about.
Like waiting until August to sign all our big draft picks until everybody else is signed to make sure they get the most money, like Bosa and Kittle and Fred.
He's got to stay.
Yeah, I mean,
He's the
if not, we really got to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, because it might be
If
the
you
end
lose
of an
Adam
era.
Peters, I'm gonna just tell you, I'm betting against us from here on out. It's that serious.
Well, Redjet is right there with you. She says, when it all has settled, we either have a sixth ring or the sixth straight year of disappointment. I'm not sure if Mount Everest can or will ever be conquered. Yeah, they got to do it this year. They have to, right? There is no option.
I mean, here's the thing, folks, and keep this in mind. This is important to always know when we're talking about Super Bowl. Super Bowl is more about entertainment than it is about football. And you know, the NFL is an entertainment company, not listed as a sports company. And so there is a script. And like whether it actually comes to fruition or not, you know, there may be some wiggle room. But you know, it may have already been decided who's winning the Super Bowl. And you know, we may just not find out about it till February. I'm gonna go ahead and say that.
It's sad to think, but there's so much that points in that being the truth.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily on who gets there, you know, but even then, they're saying like the Super Bowl logo is Niners and Ravens colors, right? And it's been that way all year. So yeah, I don't know. I hate to be that guy, the conspiracy theorist guy. And I had a friend who said, Ted, the NFL is not fixed; it's just facilitated, and I kind of believe that. Like I think the NFL will nudge it. I don't think that they will make it so blatant that. But I don't know. Just going back to when we played the Chiefs, I looked at it the next year when they like were gifting Brady all these PIs on uncatchable balls to make sure that he beat Mahomes the next year, and then you know how they get or the Rams. I guess it was the Rams the next year where no, it was anyway. Then the Rams were given all these calls to beat the Bengals at the end of that game, and last year I don't know. Last year I'm less saying the refs because they did call that penalty on Bradbury late, but I felt like he already had 2 uncalled pass interference calls earlier in the game. So if you only get called 1 out of 3 times for PI, I don't see how you can blame the refs for that. I really felt like Hurts's fumble 6 is what ruined that game for the Eagles.
Yep. All I got to say is look at the Bosa being held on that deep pass to Tyreek Hill. And that's all I got to say. Right in front of the refs. Yeah. He's being choke held. And
there was like the helmet to helmet on Jimmy, and there was a bunch of stuff.
Panama Queen in the house. He says, Aaron Ted, what is up? Long time no see. Thank you for coming through, Panama. Mr. Joe thinks if he leaves, that is Adam Peters, he should go to Washington. Second pick in the draft, $78 million in cap space, most in the NFL. He can turn it around, that team, really fast. You know, I used to be.
And they have new management. It's not Daniel Snyder. That's what's really you know, it always used to be like, oh, you could go to the Commanders, but they got Daniel Snyder running it, and he's an awful person as well as an awful owner. Now he's gone. So
he's just not. He's a bad guy. Yeah, that was just a bad egg, dude.
Well, and anybody who says, "Oh, Ted, that could never happen with the refs," now we're talking about Daniel Snyder. A perfect segue into that, which was he got busted for paying the refs $2 million, not to win the Super Bowl because they never, of course, never made it under him. But it was, and it wasn't to even win regular season games. It was to make sure that it was point shaving, to make sure that the point spreads were the right size for the bets they had laid, you know, and so they are paying the refs to to finagle the score, not to win, but just to keep it within the point spread.
For people who think they're not corrupt refs in the NFL, you're smoking crack. Like, there just is. The way that the Niners got to take care of
they
this.
want to make sure games don't get too far out of hand because people change the channel. So they want, they'll do things to keep inferior teams in games.
Yeah, you'll never see the 49ers win a Super Bowl like they did with the Denver Broncos back in 1990, 55-10. But that's the only way the Niners can assure themselves a Super Bowl win is they have to literally be up by 35 points in the fourth quarter. Because then it's like, then if it starts to unravel, then that something's up. But like the way that Kyle kind of ran, I don't know if I think him and McVay were definitely in cahoots. They try to get out of that Rams 49er games with as least amount of injuries as possible. Like every drive was like 10 minutes. You notice that?
Yep.
And it's like the defense has played somewhat hard in the game, the starters, but not really that hard. It was kind of like a super lackadaisical. I don't really want to hit you because I don't want to twist something. The only people that were really playing hard that I noticed was Debo and Ayuk. Yeah, they both were, they were getting their things and they were, breaking tackles and stuff. And I was just like, please don't get twisted up. Please don't get twisted up. So, I mean, they're going into that game is pretty much as clean as you can be. But to go back to Adam Peters, I can't believe that they haven't already re-signed him. I'm worried. Like you said, it's this team has been the team from 2017 to now. If you go out there and say, oh, it's John Lynch that was responsible for building this team, I don't think so. Because I think John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, when they actually draft players, they miss really badly. All you got to do is look at Kyle missing on running backs consistently, right? Anytime Kyle makes a luxury pick, then we get a kicker who can't make kicks, in pressure situations, or running backs that don't make the team multiple years in a row.
He even made a joke about it when he called Moody, too. Aren't you glad we didn't pick a kicker in the third round this year?
Oh, look at me. I'm a bit. Why do they waste draft picks?
Good job.
That's the one thing about the Niners. I love my team and I love how they draft talent, but they get really willy-nilly sometimes with their drafting, almost like they won a Super Bowl. Like they waste picks. It's like you can't afford to have luxury picks, man. You got to hit on everything because you got a bunch of huge contracts and eventually you got to let people go and you got to be able to win with good players on a cheaper deal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just think the window is now. I think the window is about another 2 years. And then I think this team is going to go into one of those, I can't say a free fall, but they're definitely not going to be, they'll be good and they'll make the playoffs. But like this year is set up so perfectly. Number 1 seed, home field advantage. Everybody's relatively healthy. All you got to do is take care of business in the NFC. Maybe somebody beats the Ravens and then you go into the Super Bowl and you find a way.
Tommy Huxley in the house.
Tommy Huxley. Tommy, I'll let you know why I say your name like that one of these days. It's somebody else says it like that, so I copy them. That's pretty much what it is. But Tommy made a great point. He says Armstead is the key. Yeah, we got to have him back. There was a report that said if they needed him on Sunday, he would have played. I don't know who made that report. It could have been Barrows or Mayoko. But glad they didn't. He needs the rest. I will hope. Huh?
She says, I think she loves her Niner. She hopes. I don't know.
Trying to figure out. I'm a little confused by that. I'm sorry.
Try it again, right.
Bethany. Red Jet says, I love my team to death. Our fan base is sometimes trash and disappointment. Fighting with others because opinion. Yeah, and it's in the content creating community too. All these like hot shot content creators taking shots at people that have smaller channels and saying like, well, you're not in the business of radio or you don't know the people that I know, so your opinions are crap. Like, why be that guy? You've already cornered the market with views and you've wrung YouTube out to dry by being what you are. And then you're going to sit there and go after smaller channels. I just think that's ridiculous. It's sad.
And then go after someone for saying that a quarterback could be Mr. Right. now, but not Mr. Right. And I don't think this about Purdy necessarily. I just think that you can be right at 800K or right now at 800K and not right at 50 million. It's starting to seem like Brock's going to be worth the full Monty, but again, I'd like to see more. And luckily we'll get to at least one more season before we have to decide.
If you remember a certain individual, Larry Krueger, he was not on board with the drafting.
Oh, he
Of Fred.
unblocked me recently too.
Oh, he's on one of his. He's one on one of his. He's feeling chipper because the 49ers are in the playoffs. He was not for the drafting of Fred Warner. He thought he was a bad draft pick. I remember that. I remember listening and him saying that he thought he was essentially like a safety or a special teams linebacker. I forget exactly what he said.
He was a safety. Yeah. Converted safety.
I don't know, man. Like between the content creators that make fun of each other and go after each other because, some have 100 people watching at once and some have 10, like that's low. And then if you want to get nitty gritty, I mean, you got content creators that were from radio that have been fired for being really, really kind of not really great people with a lot of real dark stuff about them. And it's
and then also saying don't watch this content creator or don't watch that one. That's Bush League. That's weak. I agree with Jesse Naylor on that. Like, do it, say whatever you want about somebody, but don't tell somebody not to watch another content creator. That's taking money out of their pocket. It's not right.
And as far as the fan base too, I'm on Twitter and I'm looking at these asinine comments about Trey Lance would have played better against the Ravens. Like, I can't get over that comment. I know Bashar knows what I'm talking about. Like, there is people who you can't reason with them with facts or, logic. They are just caught up with the fact that a guy with the noodle arm who's small, who looks like he could work at a local gas station is the quarterback and not the guy that you wanted. And the fact of the matter is he just wasn't that good. The Niners overdrafted a kid who had no experience. They missed. That's it. And Brock Purdy looks he's so unsexy when it comes to being a quarterback. He's small. He's probably got small hands. He's not super fast, as Ted likes to say, elite speed. He's just a basic ass looking dude who can move around a little bit, yet he makes great decisions.
Elite quickness. Elite quickness.
Yeah, he's got quickness. He might not have speed. And you watch these people like attack each other over that, and it's just ridiculous. Like, the dude's been gone since August. It's over. He's not coming back. And he may never play in the NFL as a starter.
It's possible.
People in the chats are cliquey. They pick and choose. There's content creators that are cliquey. That's why if you notice, all the top guys only screw with each other. There's no uplifting or taking someone who's lesser known and spotlighting them. That does not happen. Anybody who's really good on YouTube, and I give credit to like guys who are talented, that's not it. It's like a network. You know what I mean? Like, you wash my balls, I'll wash yours. That's pretty much what it is. And if you're a smaller channel and you're trying to get like into that thing, if you don't have somebody out there that is looking after you, you're going to stay wherever. And so I've kind of come to grips with that. It still sucks, but it is what it is. Like, if you don't move the needle for somebody as far as views or clicks, they're not going to have you on. They're going to give you like, oh, my schedule is this, or I can only have you on for 10 minutes. Or if we go stream with each other, it can only be on my channel. It's all garbage. If they thought you were worth something, they would make something work. So yeah, definitely. I just appreciate that there's people out there that actually understand that, like Red Jet. So I appreciate it. Let's see here. Boom. I want to talk about, and how much time do you have left, by the way?
I mean, 5 o'clock's my witching hour, but my son went down late, so
okay,
might have a little bit beyond that.
What do you think about the 49ers possibly moving on from Steve Wilkes?
I mean, you mean Steve Wilkes getting hired to be the
Steve Wilkes
Chargers?
getting hired as head coach. I think he deserves another chance. I think he deserves a real chance, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was an interim head coach at the Panthers. I said when we hired him that I was surprised the Panthers went with Reich instead of just sticking with Wilkes. Not surprised another team has noticed that he's done well, filling in after Sala and D'Amico Ryans here. He deserves it. Luckily, we'll get a couple comp picks. The funny thing was when somebody was talking about Adam Peters, like, hey, 2 more comp picks and on the timeline. And I didn't have the heart to tell him hey, dude, Adam Peters is not minority to my knowledge. So I don't think we'll get any comp picks if Adam Peters walks. But yeah, 2 more comp picks and hopefully promote somebody from within, or I'm sure Kyle's got other guys on the outside that he has earmarked. I mean, I think he's getting used to hiring defensive coordinators.
Jet says, I'm not clicky. I'm a friend. For real, for real. Thank you. Me too.
That's key. Red Jet's great.
Any 49er Cop says, we can't use any more comp picks this year. Yeah, I would probably go into the future years. The Niners just need to stop screwing around with those comp picks. Like, draft an offensive tackle for crying out loud if there's one in the 3rd round. We
got to do that in the first. That's what our first round draft pick is for.
I don't know how I feel about Wilkes. I don't think it's really him that the defense has struggled at some points this year. I don't really think it's on Steve Wilkes. I think it's on the players.
Except for Isaiah Oliver was his guy. But yeah, I mean,
look what he's done. Look what he's done with Diamador Lenore. He's allowed 1 touchdown this year on him?
Something like
1. That's amazing.
And Mooney Ward is widely considered one of the best corners in the league.
Yeah. Man. So we were all talking about he's really good with defensive backs. I mean, Ambry Thomas, I still think he's a liability if you get him up against someone who's really, really good. But if you protect him, I think the Niners secondary is a lot better than the pass rush and the rush in general. The run defense has been this year. If they would just both play well at the same time, winning a Super Bowl would be a sure thing. But the Niners offense has been really good for about 99% of this year, and the defense, I don't know. And I don't think, like I said,
if you were iffy about Ambry before, just wait till he plays with the club on his hand.
Oh, that's right. He's going to have the old club.
I don't know. I don't know if he will or not, but I would assume he would.
Mr. Joe,
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, I could say, I guess.
Mr. Joe is bringing up the fact that if we lose, we can look forward to the draft. I can't do it anymore. I used to have this excitement with the draft because I knew the Niners were going to be butt cheese through the season, right? Like they would suck, especially after the Harbaugh and before the Shanahan Lynch era, right? So that 3-year window, they were just so bad. Even they were good. They were bad in 2017 and 18. So for 5 years, they weren't really that good, right? So I would always look forward to the draft, and me and my nephew would get excited and be like, oh, this player. Now, when you're in a window of winning, the draft to me is not as exciting as going after the top guy in the first round. It's more or less, can we draft a guy to replace another guy who is, going to be cheaper, and we can keep this thing going longer? Because what happens when you become good, your draft picks go farther and farther back in the draft. And that means your scouting has to be on point, right? And that's the biggest thing with the 49ers. If they're going to continue this window of winning, even when Brock Purdy gets a contract, if he does, they got to start hitting on 1st and 2nd round and 3rd round picks, with a quickness. You got to get an offensive tackle. You got to get a nose tackle that can play and push the pocket. You got to think about a tight end eventually to replace Kittle. You got to start hitting on some of these players. You know what I mean? You got to think about the future when you draft. So that's just me. So the Niners had a workout with Casey Hayward. They were looking to bring in corner help, but instead they brought in a veteran cornerback. His last name is Mitchell. I forgot his first name. And they also brought in a defensive lineman whose name is unpronounceable. So the Niners brought in some guys to the practice squad. Any thoughts on them actually bringing in Casey Hayward and not signing him? Because he was a Pro Bowl level cornerback. He's old, and they didn't bring him in. They ended up signing. The name of the guy is escaping me.
Terrence Mitchell.
Terrence Mitchell. Thank you.
It looks like he was a Titan.
Yeah, he's okay. I would have much preferred
I
a
think
veteran
Casey
guy.
Hayward's kind of washed, honestly.
You think Casey? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those guys that is like thinking he's, in his prime still.
No, I think he's cooked. And then the D lineman is Sam Oku Ayi Nonu. Oku Ayi Nonu.
Yeah.
Not your Nona.
Or Nona. Yeah. I don't know what nationality or what, like, that's the hard one to pronounce, even if you have good dialect. So let's talk about somebody who fell from grace on the 49ers. Ronnie Bell. Do you think he makes the playoff roster if Juwan Jennings, who seems to be back, that was the one player that I was forgetting about earlier. Juwan Jennings return. Third and Juwan, and we brought back, what's his name?
Ray
McLeod.
Yeah, that's his two sort of areas where he was filling in.
Yeah, I just think he's hit a wall this year. I think he's small. I think he's small. He's weak. He needs some work in the offseason. I was really high on him. Me and you talked after preseason about players that I was high on, and he's just been disappointing this year.
Yeah, most yak in all of preseason, all the bowl.
Yeah. What's your take on that? What do you think happened? Is it just a combination of things?
I mean, when we were watching the Rams game, or maybe it was the Ravens, I forget. He tipped another pass that he should have caught, and it could have been an interception. I was like, man, he had a couple of those in preseason where he tipped them and they ended up being interceptions. Yeah, I think he's on ice. I think he's done unless someone gets hurt in the playoffs. I don't think we'll see any of Ronnie Bell. Assuming that Ray and Juwan are healthy.
Yeah.
Even Chris Conley might be ahead of him now on the depth chart.
Unfortunately, yep. It's too bad Danny Gray couldn't get his ass onto the field and maybe return some kicks. I thought that would be a good place for him because of his speed, but looks like we're probably not going to see Danny Gray the rest of the season. Drake Jackson's definitely not coming back.
No, he had surgery.
He had surgery on, I thought it was a fake injury, but I guess it was real. So, yeah. Let's talk about your biggest concern with the 49ers going into the playoffs.
Armstead's foot. Moody's foot. Jair Brown.
Safety is a worry for me. Offensive line is a worry for me in the playoffs. I am a little bit.
I like Feliciano. I just would like to see him be in there instead of Burford.
100% agree. Yeah, the safety position concerns me. And can we get some pressure on the quarterback in the playoffs, please? Like, where's it been? We got all the rest. We came out against Jacksonville in the middle of the season after a bunch of rest.
I think Armstead isn't great at getting pressure, but he's great at eating up double teams that allow others to get pressure.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here. We're almost at the top of the hour. Let's talk real quickly about some 2024 opponents that you are excited about facing.
Buffalo Bills. In Buffalo.
That means
right around the corner from your house.
Right around the corner, an hour and 20 minutes. So we got home, Arizona, LA, Seahawks, Bears, Lions. That's a tough schedule next year. Patriots, Chiefs, Dallas Cowboys. Away, Arizona, LA, Seahawks, Packers, Vikings. You got to go to Miami, 2 Buffalo, and 2 Tampa. That's going to be interesting. I want to make the Bills game. I know I've brought this up in this graphic up in past streams, but yeah, that would be interesting. About the Miami game though, that's my brother's squad.
Well, it came up in the chat. I don't know if you saw, but they were talking about how that Bills fan got capped in the parking lot.
Yeah, somebody got killed in the Dolphins parking lot. I thought it was a Dolphins fan, but I guess it was a Bills fan. That's ridiculous.
Bills fan. Yeah. So keep that in mind when you're making your travel plans. Maybe.
Well, I'm a little nervous. Listen.
Maybe wear some aqua and orange.
Well, okay, you saw the video during when the Niners were going to play the Eagles. People were throwing like soda cans and stuff at them. Like,
but I don't think anybody even got injured, let alone died.
I am not good with physical contact that isn't with someone that I care about, like a hug or a shoulder slap or someone giving me some dap. If you're coming up to me or stuff's getting tossed at me, I guess Bills fans aren't as bad as Eagles fans, but I mean, if I find a group of people to go with, I think I'd be good. But I don't want to. Bills fans can be pretty not menacing, but they can be pretty.
I think they're actually pretty welcoming of opposing teams. I think they're pretty cool. I think they're just partying their asses off and they love their team. And they're not.
Somebody thinks that I need to go through a table. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I might get hurt, and I'm already hurt.
I think we both need to do it.
That'd be awesome.
Find my weatherman buddy and have him introduce us to Sean McDermott too. Well, he won't be out there for tailgating, but he golfs. He golfs with Sean McDermott.
You have a weatherman buddy? What, out here?
Yeah, in Buffalo.
I was going to say, huh?
Pat Hammer.
Pat Hammer? I thought maybe it was somebody from Rochester because that would be cool.
No, Buffalo. Yeah, good weather town. He had been in Minneapolis before, which is another great weather town. Because people live and die by the weather reports out there, literally.
Yeah, it was really windy today. There's like a ton of tree branches down in my front and backyard. I'll let you pay the bills if you don't mind.
Oh, if you don't mind, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
No problem.
I have a sponsor called TTG. It stands for the Travelstead Group. They do transportation and warehousing for brick and mortar, fixed furniture and equipment, which is FFE. They do operating supplies and equipment, which is OSE. They have new store openings, rollouts, relocations, decommissions from the first mile to the final mile and everywhere in between. Travelstead has you covered. Let them know how they can help you by air, ocean, or land. They do closed loop solutions for retail and hospitality. The go-to guys there are Nick and Henry. Give them a shout. The links to their website are in the description for the show. My YouTube about page, my Twitter and X bio, also on Instagram and Facebook. If you follow me there, click the link, watch the video. Tom Ted sent you. Oh, I forgot to add, they also have 100% US-based support, which is important because these are complex operations. There's often fine-tuning, sometimes even snafus. Good to know when you pick up the phone, you're not going to end up in some call center overseas where they have no clue what you and your business do. So thanks in advance, everybody. Thanks, Aaron.
No problem. Tommy Huxley made a point that I brought up earlier, but do you think that fatigue had a lot to do with the Niners' issue with tackling in the pass rush? Because I hate to make excuses because the whole league is tired.
Sure looked good coming out of the bye, didn't we?
Right.
The Jags. No TDs allowed, and they just sacked the hell out of Trevor Lawrence. So
I think the
part of that is the Jags O line is like near the bottom of the league. That's part of it.
Well, the Niners lacked days off this year. They were like what, minus 22?
Minus 20, which is the worst in the NFL. The most rested teams were plus 12 rest days. That was Jets, Bears, and another team. And the Ravens were fourth with plus 9. So when we played the Ravens, they had 20 more rest days than us. It's funny that's the same number, but now they're 20. Now they're plus 9, and we're at negative 20. So yeah, it adds up. We don't have time to ice. Time to practice. And we had the second most travel miles. These are all things we talked about. I saw these as issues before the season started, and they sure seem to be. So yeah, I think there's a huge bit of that, Tommy.
Yeah, I agree, and I keep forgetting about all the travel and the lack of time off. But we'll see. I mean, we got 2 weeks. Some guys have been off 3 weeks. No excuse to come out flat. No excuse to come out and miss tackles. No excuse to come out and not be able to get pressure on the quarterback. I don't want to hear any reasons. This team is loaded. They have a
Rust,
talent.
Aaron, rust.
Well, we'll see.
Did I tell you my theory on that last week about how? Well, they say rest versus rust. I'm like, no, man, the rest comes from resting. It's rest versus injuries. That's what it really is. They should rename it.
Pretty much with the
Rest versus
49ers.
injuries. Yeah. And well, you know who else? Perfect example is the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell's like, tough guy, coach, bite your kneecaps. I'm going to play all my starters. Well, guess who doesn't have Sam Laporta against the Rams? No.
One of the best young tight ends in the league that we could have drafted.
Period. He's like one of the best tight ends. Period. He had a better year than Kelsey.
Yeah, Sam Laporta is the real deal.
Overall, he had a better year than Kelsey.
Yeah,
quite a few tight ends. Obviously, Kittle did. So,
well, that's pretty much going to do it. Anything going on the channel you want to talk about? Little promotion or anything?
Oh, sure. I got my usual Thursday show with Big Mike from the Man Cave 10. He is a Browns fan, so every week we do our Faithful Dogs show. That's at 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern. Sometimes we'll do 2:30, but I'll figure that out with him quickly and get that posted. And then obviously Bash, we do Ball with Bash and Ted Fridays at 3. Bash, if you're still watching, we may be going to Tahoe Thursday night, so that may be tough. But anyway, we'll see. We're going to be in Tahoe this weekend. My son has a ski lesson.
Nice.
Oh, my son learned to pedal. He got a pedal bike for Christmas, and I took him out to the BMX park. We've been going to a bunch to run our RC cars, and he was actually like to run on it and run on all the jumps and stuff. And he was all geared up for it. And I'm like, put him on the bike, and he's like, all right, Dad, I'm gonna go on the jumps. I'm like, no, but you gotta learn to pedal first, So he learned to pedal first day, and then he went on the jumps. And I'm like, son, you're not ready to go on the jumps. You're gonna get hurt if you go. And he goes, Dad, I want to get hurt. And I was like, all right, buddy, here you go. Go for it, bud.
How old's your son?
He'll be 4 on the 23rd.
My brother was exactly the same way. My brother learned how to ride a bike at 3.
Yeah.
He was insane because there was this neighbor kid who my brother didn't like. The kid was real jerk.
Yeah.
And my brother was like, I can't be behind this idiot. So yeah, my brother had this little tiny bike, and he used to pedal. I mean, he used to fly, right? He learned how to rollerblade too, really young too. My brother was kind of a daredevil. He had scratches and cuts and bumps all over the place. Jupiter, we got to throw the football around. If I very lightly, because my bad right shoulder, I used to be able to throw a football about 60, 65 yards. Not no more.
All right, I found the video here. Let me play it for you. Here. This is him riding, like first try, like he just took right to it. It was pretty awesome.
Awesome.
And then there you stop there. And then this is him like on the moments later, he's like going straight into the jumps. And then this is him a little more on the jumps, like of course everybody's whizzing by and he's getting in everybody's way. Eventually I was like, hey bud, you're not ready for this. We gotta let other people go because it was causing accident. But I mean, man, the kid was just like fearless. It was crazy.
That's awesome, man. That's great. It's great.
Bigger cojones than me, that's for sure.
Definitely. I had an issue with that when I was younger. I was afraid of everything. All right.
Yeah, I was kind of a daredevil, but not like first time. The first time I did something, I was always terrified. And then I'd be like, this is so fun. More. Anyway, yeah.
So I got Raj tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern and Saturday with Bash. I think it's on my channel this week. I am not positive. I forget things I hosted this week, even though I was supposed to be the hostee. So, those are my 2 streams left for the week. Still working on something with 49er, the UK faithful, 49ers UK. So be on the lookout for that. But everybody have a great rest of your evening. If you're on the West Coast, enjoy the rest of your evening. If you're on the East Coast, like me, you're going to go have a late dinner. So everybody take care. Everybody have a great rest of your evening and go Niners. See everyone.
Peace. Go Niners.